Practice number 2 for the Repco Supersprint, the Bend Motorsport Park. Third final round of the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship. But this weekend with 300 points up, we'll come back to Tailem Bend next week, and then he's off to Bathurst. And off the road early on in this session for Jack Smith. That was a wild run down through turn 9. Now, it was just sprinkling rain, so the curbing was very, very slippery, and anybody that stepped on it got in strife, like Scott McLaughlin. A big moment down here. That was a brand new set of tyres, unfortunately, so he locked them just as he was going off the road. Watch the curbing here, and he just kisses it, disconnects the grip. See the lock lights on top of the dashboard as he's grabbed the brake to try and arrest the pace as it goes back off the road. Fortunately, most of that was done on the grass, so only a tiny mark on those tyres, and he got back on. So we didn't really get an indicative time. The car had been fast in practice 1 on an older tyre. Cam Waters, little brake lock up on the run to turn 1. Front left blocking there, but the telltale was the water on the lens, and then down it came. It's been threatening all morning. They're talking about having anything up to 20 millimetres of rain at Tailem Bend today. And further to the west and to the northwest at the moment, it is actually raining, and particularly back towards Adelaide. We studied some shots over the shoulder of Nick Percat. It's a fabulous shot, but not from his point of view when you find the gravel. So you saw that car locking up, the lock lights coming on, and a moment here for Anton De Pasquale as well. If you want a little action in a supercar, the recipe is just add water. And that's exactly what happened at the back end of that session. And so we saw the fastest time achieved by Fabian Coulthard, but that was done in much drier conditions. And then the second phase of the session, we saw times in the 2.8s, and then at the end of it, we saw them in the 2.14s. Checkered flags come out, and probably not too soon for some of the drivers out there in these conditions. Practice number 2 is done. Times that you see here are not really indicative because that was done earlier in the session. So Coulthard over Percat, Mostert, 1, 2 and 3. Gary Jacobson heads up the second page in position number 11 from Macaulay Jones. And we saw 2 distinct phases there in the wet. So in that semi, well, it was wet, but certainly a lot less wet than it is now. We saw 8s, high 8s. Yep. And then when it got really heavy wet there at the end, we saw good numbers that were in around the 14s. And look at that off in the distance at the moment. Doesn't actually look too bad.